Switching. So what is switching first of all? So as we told that in the network layer, now we want the information to be transmitted from source to destination. Okay, so if it is in the local area, there is no problem. But if it is beyond the local area, that is, if we wanted to transmit the data beyond the local area, then the communication is achieved by transmitting the information or data from source to destination with the help of the intermediate switching nodes. Okay, we'll see what are these switching nodes and all. But when we have information to be sent from source to destination, and these source and destination are connected in different networks, then we have to transmit the data with the help of intermediate switching nodes. Okay, so this switching network design is generally used to implement the LANs also. Okay, so anyways, let us now see what actually a switching is. If you can see here, there is a diagram displayed on the screen. Actually, the switching nodes are not concerned with the content of the data. Okay, so what data we are sending in the network, that is not the concern for the switching nodes. Only their purpose is to provide the switching facility which moves the data from source to destination, that is, which moves the data from node to node until they reach their destination. So if you see on the figure, there are stations A, B, C, D, E and F. These are the stations, and we have nodes in the switching network. What are the nodes here? Node 1, node 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So the nodes which are in the network are called switching nodes. Okay, and the nodes are and the other things which are connected to the network outside are called stations here. Okay, so these devices which are attached to the network are referred as stations. So what are these stations could be? They could be computers, or they could be terminals, or they can be telephones, or they can be any communicating devices for that matter. Okay, so we already told that the switching devices purpose is to provide communication between source to destination. So these switching devices, we are going to call it as nodes. Okay, so here nodes are connected with each other in, they may be connected with each other in different topologies with the help of transmission links. Okay, so these, each of these stations are attached to the node. Okay, and these collection of nodes are referred to as communication network. Okay, so because with the help of these switching nodes only, now the station A, let us say, is sending the information to, let us say, station E with the help of these switching nodes only. So for this reason, this collection of nodes is called as communication network. Okay, so now in this switched communication network, the data which is entering the network from the station is sent or is routed to the destination with the help of a concept called switching from one node to another node. Okay, so if you see in this example, let us consider the data from station A and you wanted to send the data to the destination station F. Okay, so from A to F, if you wanted to send the information from A to F, okay, you have to send the information, that is station A has to send the information to node 4. Okay, so from node 4, again the node 4 is connected to node 5 and node 7. Okay, so the information can be sent from node 4 to node 5 or node 7, and from, if it is from node 5, again it can send the information to node 6, and from node 6 to, again it can send to the destination station F. So this is how the nodes are going to switch the information from source to destination. Okay, if you see, let us have some observations here. Some nodes are connected only to other devices. If you see the nodes 5 and nodes 7, if you see, these are connected to only the other nodes, that is node 5 is connected to node 3 and node 6 and node 4, and node 7 is connected to node 6 and node 4. That is, these are internal to the network. That is, they do not have any connection with the outside stations. Okay. So what is their task? Their only task is internal to the network. That is only the switching of data from one place to another place. So if you see, there are some other nodes where these nodes are attached to the stations also. If you see, the node 4 is attached to station A and node 6 is attached to station E, and it is also attached to station F, and node 3 is attached to station D. So these kind of nodes, what they will do? They will accept the data from that particular node and they deliver the data to the attached stations. Okay, so this is one kind of observation. The next thing is that the node to station link. The node to station link means, let us say here node 4 is connected to the personal computer A, so that is node to station link. So the node to station links are generally, they are dedicated point to point links. Okay, so node to station links are dedicated point to point links, and node to node links are generally, they are multiplexed links. Okay, that is, they either use FDM, that is frequency division multiplexing, or they may use time division multiplexing also. Okay, and the next observation we have to do is that if you see, the network is not fully connected. That is, there is no direct link between every possible pair of nodes. If you see here, if you see 4 is connected to 5, but 4 is not connected to 2. It is not directly connected to 2. 4 is directly connected to 7, but it is not directly connected to 3. So that is, the network is not fully connected. But the thing is that it is always required for us to have more than one possible route within the network for pair of stations. That is, let us say if I wanted to reach from switching node 4 to node 6. Okay, so I may go from 4 to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 5, and 5 to 6, or I may go from 4 to 7 and 7 to 6, or I may go from 4 to 5 and 5 to 6. So it is always best for us to have multiple routes to reach from one node to another node. Okay, so these are the different observations we do in our simple switching network. Okay, so when we wanted to switch the information from one node to another node, two major technologies or two different technologies are used in this wide area networks. The first thing is circuit switching, and the second technology is packet switching. So these two technologies, that is circuit switching and packet switching, they differ in how these nodes are switching the information from one link to the other link when they are transferring information from source to destination. Obviously, these technologies are implemented for transferring the information from source to destination, but they differ in how they are going to switch the information from one node to another node. Okay, so let us now look after the first type of switching network called circuit switching network. Okay, in circuit switching network, the main important thing we have to remember is that there is a dedicated communication path between two stations. If you take two stations, that is the source station and the destination station, there is a dedicated communication link or dedicated communication path between two stations. Okay, so actually on single physical link, there are several logical channels. Okay, so on each of these physical links, a logical channel is dedicated to the connection. Let us say one station on the source side and one station on the destination side are connected. Now they are connected with one physical link, but this physical link can have multiple number of logical channels. So in this physical link, one logical channel is dedicated for the connection between these two stations. Okay, so when we are switching the information with the help of circuit switching network, it involves three phases. How many phases it involves? Three phases. They are: the first one, circuit establishment; the second one, data transfer; and the third one is circuit disconnection. So these are the three important phases: circuit establishment, data transfer, and circuit disconnect. Let us now discuss about these three phases of establishing connection, data transfer, and data connection release. The first thing is Circuit establishment. So before transmitting any of the signals or before transmitting any of the data, first an end-to-end circuit or a station-to-station circuit must be established. That is, let us say if you wanted to send the information from A to E, okay. So first of all, an end-to-end connection between A to E must be established. So if we wanted to connect from A to E, that is A wants to send information to E, what will happen here? The station A, first of all, it sends the request to the which node? Node 4, because it is the one which is directly connected to the station A. So now the station A now sends its request to the node 4, requesting a connection to station E because it wants to send the information to the destination station E. So node A sends the information, or node A sends the request to node 4 telling that I want it to be connected to station E. So please establish me a circuit to station E. Okay. So now what happens? The link from A to 4, we told that it is a dedicated line. Okay. We already told that station to node link is a dedicated line. So link from the station A to 4 is a dedicated line as it already exists. Now what should node 4 do? Now the node 4 must find out the next part, that is from node 4 to which part it has to, or to which switching node it has to connect so that it can reach the destination station E. Now the node 4 identifies this one. Okay. So basing upon some routing information and some availability of the network, the node 4 is going to select the link to node 5. Let us say for example. Okay. So basing upon what factors it is choosing node 5 and all, we will be discussing when we are discussing about the routing algorithm. So here our point of discussion is not about how that particular route is chosen, but how circuit is being established. Okay. So basing upon the routing information and availability, now node 4 selects the link to node 5. Okay. So when it sends the request, okay, now the node 5 allocates a free channel either using FDM or TDM, because we told that within the nodes we have a multiplexed link. That is, now the channels can be divided using either FDM or TDM. So now node 5 allows that particular request. Okay. So when node 4 sends the request to node 5, now node 5 accepts it. Now what is the link now? A to 4 and 4 to 5. Okay. So now again what happens? This continues from 4 to now 4, now 5. Now 5 sends the request to 6. Okay. So when 5 sends the request to 6, okay, if it is okay, now 6 is going to accept it. Okay. So now again what does the node 6 do? Node 6 now completes the connection to the station E. Okay. Now when this node 6 is completing the connection, now the node 6 is going to make one test to determine whether the node or not node, whether the station E is busy or it is ready to accept the connection. If it is busy, it is the some other case, but if it is ready to accept the connection, so immediately now the circuit will be established. Okay. So this is how the circuit establishment, that is the first phase of the first phase in circuit switching network while transferring the data, is circuit establishment happens in the circuit switching network. Now what is the second phase? If you see here, data transfer. Now as the circuit has been successfully established, now the data transfer takes place. So data can now be transmitted from station A to station E within the switching network. So here the transmission may be either analog or it may be digital. So depending upon the network, the transmission may be either analog or digital. Okay. So what is the path here? Path is A to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and then 6 to E. So this is how the connection has been already established, and now the data transfer path is also this one. So after successfully completing the data transfer, now what is the third phase here? Circuit disconnect. Okay. So after some period of data transfer, what happens? The connection is terminated. That is, either E wants to terminate the connection or either A wants to terminate the connection. So here what happens? Any one of the stations, if they wanted to terminate the connection, the circuit will be disconnected. But when the circuit is being disconnected, the signals must be propagated to node 4, 5 and node 6 to deallocate the dedicated resources. Why we are calling it as dedicated resource? When we are establishing a circuit, we have established the connection between A to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6 and 6 to E. So there are dedicated, there are some resources also which are allocated for this circuit. Okay, so while disconnecting the circuit, all these dedicated resources must also be deallocated, isn't it? So this is how the circuit disconnection is going to be done. Okay,
Authentic.
so these are the three phases. Okay, so if you see here, we have some example of public circuit switched network. Okay, so actually generally if you observe, the circuit switching is developed to handle the voice traffic, but as our applications are growing, okay, actually now we may not use this circuit as switching network due to lots of drawbacks and all. Okay, but generally while it was discovered, actually while it was implemented, circuit switching was developed to handle the voice traffic most of the time, but it is also used for the data traffic also. Okay, so one of the best known examples for circuit switching network is the public telephone network. If you see our general public telephone network, it is an example of circuit switching network. Okay, so it is a collection of different networks interconnected to form the telecommunication service. Okay, actually this kind of network is generally designed and it is implemented to service the analog telephones. Okay, it also handles traffic via the modem. Okay, if you observe, when you are having internet connection while you are a child, okay, or let us say while I was studying 10th class or 8th class, at that moment of time we used to have a particular what we are going to call a modem at our place. It is connected to our telephone network. Okay, so if you wanted to get the internet, we used to use that particular DSL modem, and then we used to get the internet. We used to enter the user ID and password and all the time, and we used to get the internet. Okay, so so at sometimes it also handles the data traffic also. Okay, then finally it is being gradually converted to the digital network. Okay, so this network, that is this telecommunication network, is one of the best examples of circuit switching network. And there is another well-known example. Okay, so which we can say an example for circuit switching network is PBX, so which is nothing but private branch exchange, so which is used to interconnect the telephones within the buildings or within the office. Okay, so we'll be using different types of telephones
Yeah, intercom,
in
sir.
our college. It
Yeah,
cannot be
intercom.
called as intercom. See, అంటే ఇప్పుడు చూడండి నాన్న, ఇప్పుడు మన కాలేజ్ కి ఎవరైనా ఫోన్ చేస్తే, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఈ డిపార్ట్మెంట్ కి రావాలి అనుకుంటే ఫస్ట్ ఆఫీస్ లో ఉన్న దగ్గరికి వెళ్తుంది, అక్కడ నుంచి ప్రిన్సిపల్ సార్ కనెక్ట్ చేయండి అంటే ప్రిన్సిపల్ సార్ కనెక్ట్ అవుతుంది, సిఎస్సి హెచ్ఓడికి కనెక్ట్ చేయండి అంటే సిఎస్సి హెచ్ఓడికి. సో ఒకే ఆర్గనైజేషన్ లో లేదంటే ఒకే ఆఫీస్ లో if we have different telephones, so they are interconnected with each other. So for exchanging within the organization we used to use private branch exchange. ఎప్పుడు మీరు ఓల్డ్ మూవీస్ లో చూడలేదా, ఆపరేటర్ ప్లీజ్ కనెక్ట్ మీ టు సో అండ్ సో రూమ్ నెంబర్ అని చెప్పి హోటల్స్ లో గట్రా ఉన్నప్పుడు మూవీస్ లో చూపిస్తుంటారు. సో ఆపరేటర్ ప్లీజ్ కనెక్ట్ మీ టు సమ్ క్యాంటీన్,
Yes,
ఆర్
sir.
ఆపరేటర్ ప్లీజ్ కనెక్ట్ మీ టు సమ్ అడ్మిన్ ఆఫీస్, అలా అలా అంటుంటారు కదా. సో దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ PBX, that is private branch exchange. Okay, so these are all the different types of examples of circuit switching network. So what does this circuit switching network consists of? It consists of subscriber loop, that is the device, the telephone device is attached to the network. Okay, so here this subscriber loop is also called as sometimes subscriber. Okay, and then we have I'm sorry, here the subscriber means the telephone. Okay, the person who is using or the telephone, and then we have something called subscriber loop. If you see here, the link between this telephone and the network, so the link between this telephone and the end office, that is the network, is called the subscriber loop, or it is also called as a subscriber line sometimes. Okay, and then we have exchanges. Exchanges means the switching centers. Okay, so here the switching center is going to switch the different types of calls, that is the switching center, it directly supports the subscribers is called end office. If you see here, the telephone is connected to the end office. So this is a switching center that directly supports the subscriber. That is, it is directly connected to the telephones. This is known as end office. Okay. So this end office supports many thousands of subscribers generally in our local areas. And then we have long distance offices. And then finally we have end offices in the last, and then it is connected to digital PBX, and then it is again connected to the other telephone at the other end. Okay, so these are all the different examples of circuit switching networks. Okay, so the next comes the packet switching network. So till now we have discussed about the the circuit switching network. So now we are going to discuss about the second type of switching network called packet switching network. So generally we discussed just now that the circuit switching telecommunication network is originally designed for handling voice traffic. Okay, because when we are using the circuit switching networks for telecommunication, okay, that is for talking, most of the times we use these networks to handle voice, right? So if you see, as we already discussed, an important characteristic of this circuit switching, I'm not talking about packet switching, I'm talking about the circuit switching. The important feature or characteristic of this circuit switching network is the resources in the network are dedicated to a particular call. When we call a particular person from one place to another place, that is the circuit which has been established between one telephone and the other telephone at the other end. Okay, so here the resources within the network are dedicated for that particular call only, isn't it? So when the resources are dedicated for that particular call, that is for these voice connections, what actually happens? The circuit will have high percentage of utilization, because when the dedicated circuit is established, either this side person is talking or that side person is talking, that is, will be always, the utilization is always high. That is when we use circuit switching network for telecommunication, that is for talking purpose. Okay, either one side of the person is talking or the other side of the person is talking, they will not be ideal, right? But in some exceptional cases, if we use some blank calls or we use some ringer roses or ringer roses, those are some exceptions which you guys used to play in your childhood. Okay, we are not taking those exceptions into considerations, but usual cases we have high percentage of utilization. Okay, but however, if we are going to use these circuit switching networks, we started using these circuit switching networks for data communications also, not just for voice communication, but they are increasingly used for the data communications also. But when we use circuit switching networks for data communications, we have some drawbacks. Okay, so let us see what are the drawbacks if we use circuit switching networks for data connections. Okay, so if we use a computer to computer connection, let us say a particular person has logged into a particular database server. Okay, so how much time he will spend executing a query, or how much time he will spend getting the result from the database server? Maybe he will give a particular query and he will get the answer, right? But for much of the time, that is for the remaining time, the line becomes idle. That is, if we use this data connections with the circuit switching approach, obviously the circuit switching approach will be inefficient if we use this kind of circuit switching approach for implementing our data connections. That is the first shortcoming if we use the circuit switching for data communications. Okay, the second thing is, in the circuit switching network, we already told that there is a dedicated link between the end devices. That is the connection provided for the transmission is at a constant data rate. Right from starting of the call to ending of the call, we have a constant data rate. Okay, so whenever the two devices at the two ends, when they are connected to the network, they must transmit and receive at the same data rate. If it is okay for the telephones on both the ends, okay, but if we connect the same to the data communication stations or computers, one computer may operate at one data rate and the other device at the other end may operate at the other data rate, that is either lesser data rate or higher data rate. That is, this kind of requirement limits the utilization of the network in interconnecting different types of computers and workstations. That is, one computer may work at one data rate and another workstation may work at another data rate. But our circuit switching network urges us to connect the stations with the same data rate. But we cannot guarantee that all the time in the network the devices with the same data rate are connected. So using circuit switching network for transferring the data is having some shortcomings. So for this reason, we are going for the concept of packet switching. Okay. So if we wanted to know how packet switching is going to address this kind of problems which we have with circuit switching. So let us now see the diagram on the screen. Okay. Actually, we know that in network layer, the data is transmitted in the form of packets. Okay. If you see here, the station is connected to the packet switching network on the left. It is having some data, that is application data. Okay. So this application data is now divided into different small packets. So each and every packet in turn is having the control information. That is, each and every packet which is having blue part, smaller blue part, it is called header. Okay. So it in fact contains some control information, and the other part is the actual data which is being sent from the source to destination. Okay. So this control information includes the information, that is, who is the sender, who is the receiver. That is, this packet should be able to be routed from source to destination. Okay. So what happens at each node in the packet switching network, the packet is received. Do remember, it is a very important point. At each node in the route, that is when the packet is being transferred from one place to, I mean, from source to destination, the packet is received in the switching node and it is stored briefly, that is for short amount of time, and it is again passed to the next node in the packet switching network, that is in the switching network. Okay. And from that switching node again it goes to the other node until and unless it reaches the destination node. Okay. So if you see in the same diagram, okay, if you see, if we assume that this network now tells us this packet switching network. Previously, we used this network to be an example of circuit switching network, right? But now we think that this is a packet switching network. Now let us consider a packet we wanted to send it from station A again to station E. Okay. So here the packet which we want to send from A to E includes the control information that tells the internal switching nodes that the original destination, that is the intended destination, is the station E, right? So first of all, to send the packet from station A to station E, okay, the packet is sent from station A to node 4. Okay. So as we told, when it is reached to node 4, what does the node 4 does? It stores the packet and determines to which part in this switching network it has to send. That is, whether it has to send to 5 or whether it has to send to 7. Okay, let us assume that it determined that it has to send the information to the switching node 5. Okay, so it determines the route. Okay, so now what it does, it queues the packet on the outgoing link, that is 4 to 5. So if you remember, do remember this point, it immediately will not send the packet from 4 to 5. It queues the packet, okay, in the link 4 to 5. So when the link is available, why it is queuing the packet? Because at that moment of time the link is not available. So when the link is available, now the packet is transmitted from node 4 to node 5. Okay, and then eventually node 5 will transmit the packet to node 6, and finally node 6 will transmit the packet to node E. Okay, so sir, you told the same thing in the circuit switching also. Now what is the difference between the circuit switching and this packet switching? I am coming to there only. So when we are implementing the concept of packet switching in this network, so what are the advantages of having packet switching when compared to circuit switching? When we are sending the data, okay, but not the voice traffic, but the data traffic, means the advantages are, the first thing is line efficiency is more. What do you mean by this line efficiency is more? Line efficiency means, because The single node to node link can be dynamically shared by many packets. Okay, so from node A to node 4 we are sending the packets. Okay, so now what node 4 is going to do? Node 4 is going to queue these packets. That is, this node to node, from node 4 to node 5, again node 4 is going to queue these packets. That is, the single node to node link, now it can be shared by many packets over the time. But in circuit switching, is it possible? No, because we told that there is a dedicated link between a particular station A and particular station E, and the link is completely dedicated for that particular communication only. No other communication can be done. But here, if we are using packet switching when we are sending the data, now node 4 to node 5, okay, now it can be used dynamically or it can be shared dynamically by many packets over time. That is, if the link is not available at present moment of time, it can queue the packet and it can send the packet when the link is available. So by queuing up and transmitting as rapidly as possible over the link, so we can easily share this particular link. Okay, so but if you compare this with the circuit switching, what happens? The node to node link in the circuit switching is only allocated, okay, for that communication between A and E. That's it. Okay. Next, the second advantage is it can perform data rate conversion. That is, the packet switching can perform data rate conversion. That is, if two stations with different data rates also can exchange the packets. Okay, so in circuit switching, what we told, the two stations must which are connected must be at the same data rate. But here it allows, the packet switching network allows the data rate conversion also. Okay, that is, two stations with different data rates can exchange the packets. Okay, and because it connects to the node, but it does not connect directly to the external node E, that is, A connects to the switching node 4 only. 4 connects to 5 and 7. Okay. So here it can do the data rate conversion also. The next thing is, even in increased traffic, packets are still accepted. Okay. So if you see in circuit switching, when one call is being happened or one call, you are talking in one call. Okay. So there is no provision for us to, for the same source and same destination to be in the another call, that is, or the other source or other person cannot use the same line because that particular link is dedicated for you and the other person who is talking, isn't it? So also another thing is that when traffic is very high on circuit switching network, some calls are obviously blocked. That is, this circuit switching network, it refuses to accept the additional connections. Okay, but on the other hand, in the packet switching network, even though the network is having heavy load, the packets are still accepted. Okay, the packets are accepted, but the delivery may be delayed. But it is not the case that the packets are not accepted. But in the circuit switching, it obviously will not allow, it will block that particular call. Okay, and the last advantage of having packet switching over circuit switching for data connection is priorities. Okay, if a node has some number of packets which are queued for transmission, okay, then among all those packets which are queued for transmission, then that node can transmit the higher priority packets first. There may be some priorities, very important network packets to be sent, okay, at that moment of time. So in packet switching, the node can send the higher priority packets first. So thereby what happens here? We are going to enable the priority. Okay, so what about the low priority? They will be transferred some other time. Okay, so but in circuit switching there is no case that priorities can be used. Whatever urgent call you wanted to connect, first of all the previous call must be completed, only then and the next call can be established. So these are all the advantages of packet switching. Next, now coming to this packet switching technique, let us now see how the packet switching technique happens. Okay, so if a particular station wants to send a message using packet switching network, and if that information is greater than the maximum packet size, what happens? Obviously it breaks that message into smaller packets and it sends these smaller packets one at a time, that is one packet and then the next packet and then the next packet and so on. Okay, so one question here is that how the network is going to handle the stream of packets, that is source is going to send the stream of packets to the destination. Okay, so when the source wants to send this stream of packets to the destination, how this network will handle this stream of packets is our question. Okay, so how the network is going to handle these packets? So for this question, we have two approaches. There are two important approaches which are used for answering this question. The first one is the datagram approach and the second one is virtual circuit approach. Okay, so let us now discuss about the first approach called datagram approach. So in this datagram approach, each packet is treated independently. Remember, very important, each packet is treated independently. That is, one packet in the network which is being transmitted, that is one packet which is being transmitted in the network has no relationship with the other packet. That is, let us say on the screen, if you see, you have a source station wanted to send 1, 2, 3 packets. So first of all, packet 1 will be sent, okay, and then packet 2 will be sent. Okay, if packet 2 is being sent, this packet 2 will not have any relationship with either the packet 1 or with the packet 3. Okay, so I'll tell you why it is not going to have any relationship. Okay, so if you see in this diagram, at the first sequence, in the A part, the source want to send the information what is 1, 2, 3 packets. So in the B part, if you see, from the first switching node, okay, 1 and 2 have taken one path and 3 is about to take another path. Okay, if you see in the next one, if you see, now 1 and 2 are going in one path, 3 is going completely in the different path. Okay, so what I mean to say in datagram switching is the packets are individually transmitted. Each and every packet will not have any relationship with the other packet. Whatever packets go from source to destination within the network, they may go in any direction. They may go in any path. Okay, so let us say if one has taken one particular path, there is no guarantee that two and there is no compulsion that two should also go in that particular path only. Okay, it may follow the same path of the packet 1 or it may also go in the another path. Okay, so the packets here, for all these packets, the destination is same. Okay, but they necessarily do not or they necessarily do not need to go in the same route. But if they do not go in the same route, obviously there is a chance for these packets to come out of the sequence, that is not in an order. Initially they started with 1, 2 and 3, but at the exit point, that is at the exit switching node, they may be come as 3, 2, 1. So the order of these packets has now been varied, changed. Okay, so in this example, if you see the exit node, that is the exit switching node which is connected to the station, it restores the packet to their original sequential order. The original sequential order is 1, 2, 3. So at the receiving switching node, the last switching node, the packets may come out of the sequence. So this exit node restores the packet to their original order before delivering them to the destination. Okay, but in some other datagram networks, the exit node's responsibility is not this one. That is, exit node is no way concerned with this one. The destination itself, okay, the destination itself is going to do this kind of reordering. Okay, and also there is a chance that there is a possibility for the packet to be destroyed in the network, isn't it? So let us say if some node crashes for that moment of time, all of the packets which are queued for in that particular node may be lost. Okay. So now what actually happens? The receiver will not receive all the packets which the sender has sent. So now it is up to either the exit node or the decision of the destination node to detect the loss of these packets and to decide how to recover these packets. Okay. So what I mean to say is, finally, in this technique, every packet is treated independently. Okay. And these packets in this kind of network are referred to as datagrams. Okay. These are now not termed as packets, but these are referred to as datagrams. Okay. So if you see in the D, okay, now first of all the packet 3 has reached. Okay, now at some time later time again packets 1 and 2 are going. Okay, so see, if you see, and finally it has been reordered again by the exit node, and now the packets are being received by the destination node. Okay, so this is how information is being sent with respect to datagram approach. Clear? Now coming to the next approach called virtual circuit approach. In virtual circuit approach, it is completely opposite to the datagram approach. Here, a pre-established or a pre-planned route will be established before sending any packets. That is, before sending any packets to the network, first of all, a route will be established. Only when the route is established, then only all the packets will be sent, and also all the packets from source to destination have to follow the same route. I repeat, all the packets from the source to destination has to travel in the same route. If you see in the on the screen, in the A part, the communication has now established, that is, there is a virtual circuit, that is, a virtual circuit has been established. All the packets now has to go in the same path. Okay, so this is the main difference between the datagram approach and virtual circuit approach. So because the route is fixed for the duration of this logical connection, do remember this is not a physical connection. Okay, it is a logical connection, but it is somewhat similar to the a circuit, that is establishment of a circuit in a circuit switching network, right? So for this reason it is referred to as a virtual circuit network. Okay, for this reason it is referred to as a virtual circuit network. Okay, so what does each packet contain? How does each packet know to go in that particular path only? Means each packet contains a virtual circuit identifier and data. Okay, so basing upon the identifier. Okay, so each node in this pre-established route, because the route has been established prior to data transfer, right? So each node in this route knows where to send these packets. Okay, so the first node will send the this particular packet to the next node in that particular path only. It will not send to the node which is not in the virtual circuit. Okay, so the main characteristic of the virtual circuit technique is that the route between the stations is established prior to data transfer. Okay, so don't think that it means this is like a dedicated path as in the circuit switching. Okay, in the circuit switching we have a dedicated path, but this is not a dedicated path. It is just a virtual circuit, that is, a transmitted packet is buffered at each particular node and it is queued for output over that particular line. Okay, so while other packets on this virtual circuit are using this line, okay, now this packet will be queued. Okay, so this is not a physical communication part, this is a logical communication part. Okay, so this is how virtual circuit is different from the datagram circuit. If you see in the diagram A, so first of all circuit has been established. Now 1, 2 and 3 all packets are following the same route. In C also, if you see, 1 is going in that route and 2 and 3 is also going in the same route. Okay, finally now they reach the destination. Okay, so this is how virtual circuit approach is going to be working out. Okay, so now the next thing to consider is, if the two stations wanted to exchange the data over some extended period of time, then This virtual circuit approach is very advantageous. That is, if these two stations wants to communicate for more amount of time, okay, so they wanted to communicate for large amount of time, then establishing a virtual circuit is very advantageous. Okay, do remember one basing upon one important point. Mainly, we will go for either virtual circuit approach or datagram approach. Okay, if two stations communicate for more amount of time, then virtual circuit is the best one. Or if two stations communicate for short intervals of time, not very frequently, that is, let us say station at time t1 has communicated only with short communication, and after, let us say, some again time t5, again a short communication. So for every shortest communication we use datagram. Okay, so the network, I mean the virtual circuit, other advantages of the virtual circuit network is they provide services related to virtual circuit, that is sequencing and error control also. Sequencing means because all of these packets are following the same route, obviously they arrive in the original order. Okay, and also error control is also another service provided by the circuit, I mean provided by the virtual circuit, because packet arrive in the proper sequence. Okay, and also the packets arrive correctly also. Okay, so this is how it is also providing error control. Okay, so what happens actually, so this virtual circuit network is going to provide us this error control, and also it is going to provide us sequencing also. So these are all the advantages of virtual circuit. Now coming to the advantages of datagram approach. Okay, so what will be the advantage of the datagram approach? In the datagram approach, is there any time required for establishing a connection? No, obviously, no. There is no time for, there is no need of establishing any connection. Only needed is to send the data. That's it. No need of circuit establishment. Okay. So this is one advantage. So if the station want to send only one packet, or if the station want to send only few packets for a smaller amount of time, then the datagram delivery is very quicker. Okay. So another advantage of the datagram is also that because it is more flexible. That is, let us say if there is a congestion in one part of the network, let us say now from node A on the screen, from node A to 4, 4 to 5, let us say now there is congestion at the node 5. Okay, so obviously what happens, the next packet in the network will not choose the path from 4 to 5, it may go from 4 to 7, and again it may go from 7 to 6, and then 6 to E. So this is how, when there is a congestion in the network, obviously what happens, this datagram approach is very flexible. But in virtual circuit subnet, as the circuit has been established, the path has been established, all the packets must go in the same path only. Even though there is congestion or no congestion, they have to go in the same path only. Okay, so like this kind of things. Okay, there are the different variations of I mean different advantages and disadvantages of having I mean datagram switching and virtual circuit switching networks. Okay, so if you see here, we have event timing for circuit switching and different types of packet switching networks. If you see here, the first is for circuit switching, the second is for virtual circuit packet switching, and the third one is for datagram packet switching. So we are having a comparison, we are going to see the comparison between circuit switching and packet switching, and in packet switching again virtual circuit packet switching and datagram packet switching. So first of all, on the left, circuit switching. Initially, call request signal will be there. Okay, that is, let us say we are sending information from node 1 to node 4. Okay, so initially call request signal will be there, and from node 1 to node 4, whenever it is going to send the information. Okay, so obviously there will be some propagation delay, and there will be also processing delay, whether the next node is ready to accept the connection or not. It has to process this request, right? Obviously there is propagation delay and then processing delay also. What is propagation delay? So the time is the time taken for a signal to propagate from one node to the next node, right? So obviously there will be a propagation delay, and processing the request also incurs some processing delay. And from node 2 to node 3 again the same, node 3 to node 4 again the same. Now the node 4 has to do what? It has to accept the call signal. Okay. And now the signal has to be sent to the again node 1. Now the data has to be transferred, and then after the acknowledgement signal will be transferred, and then the communication stops. Okay. So here more amount of time is required for call request signal, propagation delay, processing delay, and call accepting. So time is incurred at these points of time. Okay. Now coming to the second part, packet switching. And in packet switching, the first one is virtual circuit packet switching. In the virtual circuit packet switching, again, the call request packet is being sent from node 1 to node 2. And again, we have some processing for that one. And from node 2 to node 3, again processing. And node 3 to node 4, again processing. Okay. So if you see here, the call packet, that is call request packet, has been accepted by the node 4. Now if you see here, again there is some processing delay from node 4 to 3, 3 to 2, and 2 to 1. But in the circuit switching on the left, from node 4 to 1, there is no processing delay. Why? Because the circuit has been established. Now the dedicated communication has been established. Now immediately all the resources have been established. There will be no propagation delay or processing delay now. Okay, but coming to the virtual circuit, obviously, even though the virtual circuit has been established, what actually happens again in the reverse also, it has to again process the request. Okay, it has to again process. But that is the reason we have delays there. And then we are sending the packet 1, 2, 3, and finally there is also acknowledgement packet which also incurs some delay. Okay, now coming to the datagram packet switching. See, there is no call request packet, there is no call accept packet, there is no acknowledgement, nothing. Only simply you want to send the data, send data. You don't want to send the data, don't send the data. But only drawback is that in datagram network we do not have any acknowledgements. That is, we do not come to know whether the packet has been we cannot guarantee say that the packet has been received by the destination or not. But in the other two, there is a guarantee that the destination has received information or not, because they are giving the acknowledgement signal from the destination to the source. Okay, this is the comparison between circuit switching and the packet switching techniques. Okay, so finally this is a table telling the major differences between circuit switching, datagram packet switching, and virtual circuit packet switching network. See, in the circuit switching we have dedicated transmission path. In datagram, no dedicated path is there. And in virtual circuit also, no dedicated path. It's only a virtual circuit. Do remember, that is what I told. It is not a direct physical link. It is a logical link. So there is also no dedicated path, but it is only a logical link. Okay. Now in circuit switching, continuous transmission of data is there. And in datagram switching, transmission of packets. And we see also virtual circuit. We see transmission of packets. And the third category, in circuit switching, it is fast for interactive communication, and it is also fast for interactive communication. Every type of switching is fast for interactive communication. And here in circuit switching, messages are not stored, but in the datagram, packets are stored until they are delivered, and here also packets are stored until they are delivered. Okay, now next one, the path is established for the entire conversation, right? Now the second, route is established for each packet and in the datagram, and for virtual circuit, route is established for the entire conversation. So like this, as we have discussed about the different types of pros and cons of both circuit switching and packet switching, and in packet switching again virtual circuit switching and datagram packet switching. So these are all the different kinds of switching techniques we have when we are going to send the information from the source to destination. Okay.